Late at around 3 a.m., I found myself driving home from a work meeting that had extended beyond its usual hours. This annual gathering unfolded 8 hours away from my workplace, leading me through a state predominantly characterized by vast farmlands. The endless fields of crops stretched for miles, making the rural roads appear desolate, particularly during the late hours. Despite the monotony of the journey, the bare roads allowed me to unwind, focusing solely on the straight path ahead. As I navigated the dark expanse, an unexpected interruption shattered the tranquility. A sizable gap in the crops appeared to my right. Upon closer inspection, I noticed a car wedged deep into the crops, as if it had careened off the road uncontrollably. It was a peculiar sight, and I couldn't fathom how driving into a field of crops could lead to such a predicament. The absence of any discernible harm to the vehicle left me puzzled. It seemed as though they could have easily called for help, given the available cell service. Additionally, the motionless state of the car suggested the occupants had either been rescued or abandoned it altogether. Resuming my journey, a pair of headlights materialized in front of me just minutes later. Closing the distance rapidly, I had to swerve into the opposite lane to overtake the slow-moving vehicle. It became apparent that their speed was dangerously slow, perhaps not exceeding 25 miles per hour on an 80-mile-per-hour highway. Expecting a frustrated driver eager to pass, I anticipated their swift overtaking. However, the unexpected unfolded. The vehicle shifted into the oncoming traffic lane, aligning itself with mine. A glance revealed a man in his mid-40s, donning disheveled hair and an unkempt beard, gazing into my eyes with an unsettling smirk. A sense of unease crept over me, prompting a nervous shift in focus back to the road. Suddenly, the vehicle darted ahead, abruptly slamming on its brakes, compelling me to follow suit. To my shock, the car then maneuvered to obstruct both lanes, bringing both vehicles to a complete stop in the middle of the road. The man wasted no time. He exited his car, gun in hand, hood pulled low over his face, and sprinted toward me. His intentions were clear, and panic seized me. With no time to reverse, I pressed the gas pedal, swerving off the road and crashing into the crops on a nearby farmland. In that harrowing moment, my car continued forward, unresponsive to my efforts to turn, slowing even with the pedal pressed to the floor. Dread consumed me as thoughts of the other car stuck in the crops flashed in my mind. Just as despair threatened to engulf me, my wheels regained traction, allowing me to swerve back onto the road. In the distance, a lone gunshot echoed, signaling the man's futile pursuit. Shaken to my core, I dialed 911, recounting the chilling encounter and providing precise details about the stranded car and the crops. However, the enigmatic pursuer remained elusive. The police located the other car, empty, devoid of any signs of its driver. It was as though they had vanished, leaving behind a mystery that mirrored the potential fate that narrowly escaped me that fateful night. As I left work around 11 p.m., navigating the quiet roads toward my home, the solitude of the night usually brought me peace. Living several miles outside the city, the dimly lit roads were often empty, making the drive serene. A habitual route, the familiarity of my journey heightened the contrast when something unusual unfolded. 20 minutes away from home, I turned down a long side road that led directly to my house. This road, engulfed by a dense forest, carried an eerie atmosphere, intensified by the night's fog, limiting visibility to a few feet. However, with barely any other souls on this road at night, I'd never experienced anything out of the ordinary during my nightly commute. Yet, on this night, through the thick fog, a small blinking light emerged, catching my attention. Uncertain of its location or which side of the road it occupied, I slowed down. As I approached, the light abruptly extinguished. At this point, I was moving at a modest 15 to 20 miles per hour when a small car materialized from the side of the road, abruptly stopping in front of me. In an attempt to avoid a collision, I applied my brakes, but the proximity was too close, resulting in a gentle tap on the back of their car. The impact left both vehicles seemingly unharmed. Perplexed and unsure of the next steps, I opened my car door and stood beside it, awaiting the occupants of the other vehicle. Peering into the front seat, I observed movement, but their actions remained unclear. The worn appearance of their car and the absence of headlights heightened my unease. Eventually, a middle-aged man emerged from the vehicle, exuding an air of discomfort. Struggling to make eye contact, he mumbled an apology, attributing his quick maneuver to uncertainty. Feeling uneasy about the encounter, I informed him that there appeared to be no significant damage to either vehicle, expressing my intention to continue on my way. However, as I reached for my car door, he requested a moment, expressing a desire to inspect his car for potential damage. Complying with his request, I stood by my car while he examined the back bumper. Oddly, he circled the vehicle, feigning a thorough inspection. Growing increasingly uncomfortable, I noticed a substantial figure rising from the back seat, advancing toward the door. Instinctively, I retreated into my car, securing the locks. A second man emerged from the back door, both of them frantically waving their hands, signaling me to stop. Panic set in, compelling me to shift my car into drive and maneuver around them, speeding down the road. Glancing in the rearview mirror, I witnessed their lights flicker through the fog for about 30 seconds before gradually fading away. To ensure my safety, I sought refuge at a nearby gas station, strategically positioned 5 minutes from my house. After a tense 15-minute wait, the ominous car failed to materialize. While uncertainty lingered, I chose not to involve the authorities immediately, questioning whether my reaction might be an overreaction. Reflecting on the unsettling incident, I grappled with the realization that something about the situation felt inherently wrong. The peculiar encounter left me pondering their motives, sensing an underlying danger that had potentially been averted by my timely departure. Despite my indecision about reporting the incident, a lingering question haunted me: what if they had abandoned pursuit, intending to ensnare another unsuspecting victim in their trap? I once had 2 client meetings in Texas. I lived in Oregon at the time. Choosing to drive instead of flying to save expenses, I sought a break from my mundane job and a chance at client relations roles promising better opportunities. The climate in Texas hinted at a welcome change from Oregon's constant rain. Driving down on a Thursday night, I took Friday off for the meetings. After a swift stop at home to gather essentials, I bid farewell to my family and embarked on the long 8-plus-hour journey. The ETA extended into the early hours of the morning, around 2 a.m., with a Marriott as my destination. Downing 3 cups of coffee initially kept me alert, but the fatigue caught up. A lack of sleep, coupled with the stress of impending meetings, made the drive particularly challenging. Late at night, with roughly 2 hours left in the drive, the road was desolate. Sparse traffic dotted the highway on this weeknight. Sleepiness started to overwhelm me, and then, a surreal encounter. On the side of the highway stood a man in a suit, immobile, facing my car. As I passed, his face turned to follow my car. I vocalized my confusion, considering turning around to offer a ride. In an attempt to distract myself from the encroaching drowsiness, I conjured stories of why he might be stranded there at 12:30 at night. The inexplicable became terrifying when, about 10 minutes later, another man, also in a suit, appeared, mirroring the strange stillness. I slowed down, contemplating pulling over to check on him, but when I glanced in the rearview mirror, he vanished. Bewildered, I hit the gas, desperate to reach my destination. The need for caffeine forced me to make another pit stop. As I sat in the rest area gas station parking lot, I spotted the man in the suit again, standing under a light post. His middle-aged, clean-shaven appearance was unsettling, heightened by the way he faced my car. Fearing an unknown threat, I left swiftly without looking back. The coffee wasn't enough, the exhaustion threatened to overpower me. With about an hour and a half to go, I pulled off the highway and parked in a random lot. Angling the seat down, I attempted to sleep, haunted by the fear of seeing the man in the suit when I opened my eyes. Just as I succumbed to drowsiness, I jolted awake, paranoid. I checked every window and the rearview mirror, experiencing a fleeting vision of the man in the back seat. Terrified, I screamed, fell out of the car, only to realize the back seat was empty. Recognizing that my mind had played tricks on me all night, I concluded there was no man in a suit, just sheer exhaustion. Needing sleep, I got back in the car but found myself too awake. I finished my coffee, determined to complete the drive. Upon checking into the hotel and reaching my room, I collapsed into bed and passed out. The next day, with minimal sleep, I faced my first client meeting at 11 a.m. Despite feeling somewhat recharged, encountering my first business associate triggered a freezing panic. He resembled the man in the suit from my hallucinations the night before. The frozen moment set a nerve-wracking tone for the meeting, leaving me nervous and disoriented. The night's hallucinations spilled into the day, shaping my encounters. However, my second meeting with a woman went smoother, and I secured the opportunity. I still work and reside in Oregon now. My therapist later attributed the hallucinations to stress and sleep deprivation, explaining that my mind conjured the man in the suit, an embodiment of my fear and stress. While the explanation made sense, it couldn't erase the downright horror of that night.